Okay. So the question is, all right, so I told you about, the session token being stored in the cookie, but there's really a few options. The one of them is indeed the one of storing the session token in the cookie, but there's at least two other options that people have considered over time. One is to have the session token in the URL. So if you sometimes look at the URL, you'll still see some websites having session token in the URL. How can you tell? Well, you're just going to see the argument list, and some of them can be called session ID or session token or ID, whatnot, and then you see some random looking sequence. Whereas others entirely store it in the cookie. Another possibility was to store it in the form fields. So basically, whenever the user fetches a form, where they're supposed to input a value, the form has a field that has the random token inside it. And then when the user fills in the form and sends submit, this value is also automatically sent to the server. It's a much more shorter-lived session because it's only for the duration of fetching the form, filling it in, and sending it to the server. But we'll see that it still serves some useful purpose. So none of these mechanisms by themselves are enough. They have various vulnerabilities that we will discuss. And really what people end up doing is they have a combination of these. So the problem with the browser cookie by itself alone is that the browser will send the cookie with every request, even when it should not. And this will result in a CSRF attack that we will discuss in a few minutes. Okay, but how about embedding the session token in the URL? Can anybody see a problem with this? So again, we want to embed the session token in the URL. Do people see any problem with this? Anybody want to raise their hand or write on chat? So the question is, okay, Nicolas, yeah?
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I was a little slow. URL parameters are for GET requests, so an attacker could say like, generate a URL that is for his account, and convince the user to click on it, which causes them to do navigate to some page that's that's part of the attacker's account, and they don't know that.
Right, that's definitely a possibility. So again, if the session token is in the URL, then the user could get the attacker could get the user to click on a URL with the token of the attacker. The attacker knows his token. So then the user ends up being logged into the attacker's account. We saw last time that that's not great because the user could think they're logged into their account and then do some actions that then the attacker will see. That's definitely a problem. Any other problem? Do people see any other problems with having the session token into the URL as a way to authenticate the user? So again, if the URL contains a session token, which authenticates you to the server for some period of time, what's not great about that?
Hunter mentioned that it's very easy to share the session token with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's very easy to share the session token with the friends because, you probably have shared URLs a lot with your friends, and then, you share the URL to, let's say, you want to show them a photo on Facebook of someone, so you share a link to that photo with your friend, and then they click on that link, and then they also logged into your account. Besides seeing that photo, they logged into your account, and they could see much more. Exactly. All right, so the other problem is that the token leaks via the HTTP referrer header. So I mentioned that when you do an HTTP GET request, always there's this referrer header that the browser includes that says on which page were you when you did this request. For example, if I'm on bank.com and I click a link to, I think, Toby, you should mute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
So when I'm on bank.com website, and I click on, I know, the weather channel or something, when I go to the weather channel, my browser automatically says I was on the bank.com website before I went to the weather channel. So there's the referrer header that says where I was before I went to the weather channel. Okay, so there's this referrer header that leaks, and it's a problem because now I have in the bank.com, I have the session ID, the session token for bank.com, and I go to the weather channel. So now the weather channel gets to know which URL I was at before, which maybe it's fine to know that I was at bank.com, but it's not fine to see the session token I had there. Okay, exactly. So these are problems with this approach.
Someone asked, what is a referrer header?
Yeah, so I just mentioned orally. The referrer header is basically a header that the browser includes automatically. So it's a piece of information that the browser includes into the HTTP request. And this piece of information says where, on which site the user is when they issued this GET request. So for example, if the user is on bank.com and they issue a request to the weatherchannel.com, basically they click on the weatherchannel.com, the browser will automatically attach the HTTP referrer header to the GET request for weather.com, which says that the user was on the bank.com site. Okay, so it's just a piece of information that the browser attaches about where the user was before they made this HTTP GET request. So it's pretty scary in that sense when it comes to privacy. And in this case, it's very bad because you attach the fact that you're on bank.com and you include, because in the URL there is the session token, so you include the session token as well. So then automatically the weather channel gets your session token, they can log in to bank.com for you. Is it clear? Okay. And we saw that the problem with putting it in a hidden form field is that it can only support short sessions. All right. So really the better answer is a combination of 1 and 3 above. Okay. We will actually people do put the session tokens in the cookies, but they have a defense for CSRF based on the hidden form field, we'll see in a moment how, with a little bit of help from the HTTP referrer header. Okay, so it's really a combination of mostly 1 and 3 and a bit of 2. We'll see why 2 is not really helping a lot.